Welcome to the NAIOP Southern Nevada October Breakfast Program. Like I mentioned, this is our last breakfast program of 2024, so my last breakfast program as your 2024 chapter president. So it's bittersweet. I'm excited, but also sad, so we'll make the best of today and try to go out with a bang. Good morning to everybody attending via Zoom and everybody here in the room. For those of you here in the room, there are notepads on your desk or your table, so please feel free to write any questions that you have. And Dan Tutland is, where, Tutland? He will be around collecting them throughout the program, and this will be very interactive today, so feel free to write questions as we go for Dan to collect. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize our UNLV students in the room. So if you are a UNLV student, please stand to be recognized. Vanessa. Now let's take a moment to honor our President's Circle sponsors. They are a critical component to the success of our chapter. This year we had 4 platinum sponsors. Special thank you to each one. Cox Business has supported our chapter for 21 years. Gatsky Commercial Real Estate since 2022. Martin Harris Construction since 2001. And Schnitzer Property since 2000. Thank you. Now I would like to thank our gold sponsors, Howard Hughes, Kimley Horn and Associates, Majestic Realty Company, Nevada General Construction, Panattoni Development Company, Prologis, and Southern Nevada Water Authority. Thank you. Now please take a moment to recognize the remaining President's Circle sponsors on the screen. Thank you to our silver sponsors. Our bronze sponsors, and our copper level sponsors. Thank you. We have sent out already our 2025 President's Circle email, so if you have any questions or would like to join now as a President's Circle for 2025, please let us know. You can reach out to anybody on the board, but including Miss Lisa Brady. She would love to upsell you, I'm sure, into the next package. So please feel free to reach out to any of us to talk about the President's Circle sponsorship benefits for 2025. Now, quickly, I wanted to recap. I'm so proud of the Converge conference that we put on here in Southern Nevada last week. Was that last week? Last week. It was the highest attended NAIOP Converge conference ever. Woohoo! I think Julie had a large part in the fact that we had 138 members from Nevada. Julie promised a lot of drinking and debauchery, so thank you, Julie. There was, over 1,500 people in attendance, and again, one of the greatest attended events. And from everything I heard, it was a great program for anybody who attended. Feel free to share your thoughts about it. I'm sharing some photos here on the screen because it was so great at all of the sessions throughout conference to see so many of our members in attendance. I'm also really proud of the tours that we put together. There were transportation tours where they got to go in the boring tunnel and to Aptiv and I think CAE, that was in conjunction with Shani, helped with Clark County. And then we had City of Henderson put together a great tour through some of the projects in West Henderson. We had an Uncommons tour, a Summerlin tour, and I heard a lot of great things also about the back of the house tour at Caesars, that a lot of people from out of town really loved seeing the back of house tour at the hotel. So like I said, I think we really elevated the program and raised the bar. So the next conference will be in Toronto in 2025, and we met with the Toronto chapter during Converge last week, and they said, man, you guys really raised the bar on us. So how are we going to do this? And I'm like, well, leverage your chapter, leverage everyone in your community. But they're very much looking forward to Toronto. They mentioned that they're going to try to do quite a few walking tours because of the walkability of their downtown. So that should be a great conference. So stay tuned for more. But I'm really proud of all of the tours that all of you helped put together. So again, a very special thank you to the NAIOP Planning Committee and our local planning committee too. I know there were several members in the room that really went all out to help coordinate those tours. They helped to get people to the buses, and we had tour guides on all of the buses, and several of us sponsored refreshments and stuff on the tour. So thank you to everybody who put together a great program. I think we really raised the bar for corporate. And now I'd like to turn it over to our amazing committee members for our committee announcements.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So Morgan Elson with Colliers. I'm on bus tour. Our 2024 bus tour is quickly approaching. It's going to be Thursday, November 14th here at the Orleans. We have a Monopoly-inspired NAIOP bus tour this year, so we're very excited for it. Early bird registration ends October 31st, so if you want to take advantage of early registration, be sure to do that. And then we do have some sponsorship opportunities available still as well. If you want to have an exhibit table for your company, feel free to sign up. That does end Monday, so make sure you take advantage of that. If you are interested, reach out to myself, Jonna Savage, or Sebastian Torres. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Megan McInerney with Colliers International, and I'm here on behalf of the Community Service Committee. Chris and I are going to be announcing 2 events today, so please listen up. Coming up in December, we have the Give Joy Foster Change Toy Drive that supports the foster children in our community. And so although all age toys are accepted, 0 through 3 is really in demand this year. So please keep an eye out in your emails for the list for that, and then we will be accepting donations at the NAIOP Members Only Holiday Lunch. Thanks, everyone.
I'll probably say it.
Chris Teachman, LESAC Architects. It's been a while since I've had to do this, but doing our Thanksgiving drive this year. This is, I think, 12th or 13th year that we've done it. COVID kind of set us back to where we were doing it with companies adopting families, but we're back to collecting food. There's a list, so seek out Megan or Deshawn after the breakfast, and they can give you more details on what we need for collections and an opportunity to decorate some baskets. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Mike Goodwin with Schnitzer Properties here on behalf of the Education Committee. I want to talk to you about our upcoming education workshop. This one's going to be on November 22nd, 9 a.m. at Las Vegas Realtors. We've got a really good one coming up. It's going to be on the ICC code updates and what you need to know about those, as well as some other compliance items. There's a Corporate Tax Act that's going into effect. You're not going to want to miss it. You're going to want to know. Just remember, these education workshops are a member benefit, so come get the most of your membership. You don't know what you don't know. We hope to see you there November 22nd, Las Vegas Realtors Building, 9 a.m. You can register now. Thanks so much.
Good morning. I'm Guy Gugino with MidFirst Bank. I'm here for the golf committee. So first, save the date. Our golf tournament is coming up on May 16th at Las Vegas Paiute Resort. We'll be reaching out next week to previous sponsors to see if you want to sponsor again. Thank you for sponsoring in the past, but we're going to ask again. And then after that, we'll ask members to sponsor. Watch your emails. Teams are going to be limited. This is a very popular event, so it sells out very quickly. And we also will limit teams to 1 team per sponsor, per member company also. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Gaetana Kafasa with Burke Construction on behalf of the NAIOP Spotlight Awards. We have set the date. It is Saturday, March 1st at Red Rock Casino. This year's theme is NAIOP Nights, so think tropical flair meets the desert air. Nominations for project and industry are in, but we do still have sponsorships available. So if you have any questions, please see me or Jonna after. Thank you.
Woo woo.
This wasn't put for me. Let me bend over this way a little bit. Hi, I'm Art Green. I'm with Geotechnical Environmental Services. It is a great time of year to be a member of NAIOP. You already heard about the members-only workshop that is next month. In December, we also have our members-only holiday luncheon. That's right, members only. You can't even sponsor that luncheon unless you're a member. And we do have some very inexpensive sponsorship package that you can talk to me about after the breakfast. But I have good news if you're not a member. We are now offering membership. If you sign up this year, you get the rest of this year for the price of next year. So if you're not a member and you want to go to the members-only workshop and the members-only luncheon, or just sponsor the luncheon, all right, now's a great time to join, and then come see me so you can sign up and be a sponsor. We only have a couple sponsorships left. It's a very popular thing to sponsor, so please make up your mind right now, join, and come see me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Art. Thomas, am I running your DLI announcement? I'm doing it. All right. Your DLI announcement here is your 2025 class has kicked off, and they had their retreat in Mesquite. So very excited, and I actually was able to send the class off on their retreat with Thomas, actually, and my son too. That was fun. But I'm really excited about that class. I'm not going to say that they're going to be in the running for best class ever, but it's a possibility. So again, congrats to the 2025 DLI class. And we do still have 2 remaining class sponsorships available for $1,250, or you could do the supporter level at $500 that I got roped into last month. So please feel free to support our DLI program. It is an incredible program. It is shaping the next generation and the future leaders of our industry and really our chapter. So please consider sponsorship for DLI. Thank you. All right, back to me. Where's Thomas? All right. Now I'd like to take a moment, again, because it's my last breakfast program of the year. I would like to take a moment to really recognize and thank all of our committee members and our committee chairs. So if you are a committee member or committee chair, please stand. So cool. Thank you. And please, I mean, last year when the gavel was passed to me from Reed in December at that members-only holiday luncheon, that does serve wine, I said do more in 24, and that was really my slogan. So if I can, as I'm kind of getting ready to pass the gavel to Matt Hoyt, I would like to say that if you haven't done more in 24, please do more in 25. But really, as you saw who stood in the room, what makes our chapter so amazing is all of the members and all of the companies that help us and support us, but we cannot do it without our membership. And so the more of you that do get involved, the bigger the impact that we have in the community and in the industry. And so I know time is precious, but as somebody who does a lot of things, you can make time for the things that you want. So please really look at 2025 if you're not really heavily involved, and find a way to push yourself outside of your comfort zone to help our chapter, because we are great, but there's always room for improvement. So many hands make light work. So the more that you get involved, the less maybe that falls on some of us in each of the program committees. So please consider joining a committee and really helping our chapter if you aren't already. Now I'd like to take a moment to recognize our new members of the month. So if you are a new member and have a new member tag ribbon on your tag, please stand to be recognized. Yay, welcome. Welcome. So anybody that stood before that's a committee member, feel free to, hey, what committee are you on? I would love to learn more. Again, or any of us would love to tell you about all of the committees. So feel free to get involved and definitely join a new member coffee, and anybody in membership or on the board would be happy to talk to you. Welcome. And along that line, if you would like to stand next month to be recognized, 15 for 12 has started, as Art mentioned. So you can join now, get the rest of this year and all of 2025 for the same price. So let's try to keep moving on our membership needle. And if you have any questions about membership, feel free to see myself, Art Green, or Micah. And so again, as my last breakfast program of this year, I thought about who I would like to recognize because we have so many amazing members. But today, I actually had asked that I would like to recognize a few people that I have become, I think, very close with over the past several years that really do so much, but I don't think they're ever really recognized because they're usually kind of behind the scenes. But today, I would like to recognize Adam Kilborn and his team with Black Raven Films for all that you do, because you started during COVID streaming our breakfast programs. So thank you, Adam and Black Raven Films. They started, again, like I said, during COVID to give us the hybrid breakfast programs, but also Adam actually switched to, during COVID, to doing the Spotlight Awards with us. And Adam has put up with me quite a bit over the years, and I think we've come a long way, but Adam came up with a lot of ideas at first that Katrina and I were a little bit hesitant to, but he has really, I think, leveled up also Spotlight Awards and all of the programming that we do there, and the ability to have these hybrid breakfast programs every month. So I would just like to thank you before I'm out, so thank you. And next, I would be remiss if I did not also recognize Miss Adrienne Angelo with Dragonfly. Thank you for everything that you do. You're here at all of our events, you and your team, taking photos for all of us and always making sure that we're capturing all of these great memories and all of the special relationships and moments throughout the chapter. So thank you, Adrienne, for everything that you do and always being there to capture our best side. So if you need anything from them, let them know, but I just would like to thank you both for everything that you do, you and your teams. Now, let's thank our 2024 breakfast meeting sponsors, American Nevada Realty, Carpenter Sellers Delgado Architects, Cox Business, Gatsky Commercial Real Estate, Martin Harris Construction, McCarthy Building Companies, NV Energy, R&O Construction, Southern Nevada Water Authority, Southland Industries, and our breakfast Wi-Fi sponsor, Schnitzer Properties. Thank you. These are hot commodities, breakfast sponsorships, but thank you for all of your sponsorship. Now I'd like to turn it over to our last breakfast meeting sponsor, Southern Nevada Water Authority, to share a few words. Mike Bernardo, Conservation Manager. You don't get this fancy Madonna headset. You're going to have to use that. Matt, you should really get this for next year. Way easier than the mic, just saying.
Thank you, Cassie. You going to dance for us next year?
I have no talents. My daughter maybe, but not me.
All right. So thank you so much. I just want to say a couple words. So 2024 was truly a year of firsts. So all of you hopefully were here this summer and you saw the first time we ever hit 120 degrees, shattered the previous record of 117 degrees, had about 6 or so days above 117 degrees or 117 degrees or higher this summer. It was also the first ever hottest June on record, first ever hottest July on record in Las Vegas. So shows where the climate is going, and this isn't a surprise to us at SNWA. We also continue to not have a monsoon season. So that's par for the course now over the last 24 years. But it's also the first time SNWA has announced that we're going to decrease our rebate on non-functional turf. You've seen some of our team back there. We have some signage for you guys. We have some collateral on the tables. We want to make sure you're all aware so you're not missing out. But it's also a first that we've seen overwhelming interest in evaporative cooling conversions. We've about quadrupled the amount of applications that we had from 2023 and 2024. It's also the first time we've seen alternative lawns, such as Carapia, being installed all throughout our community that saves about 50 to 70% over regular turf grass that's illegal and being removed. Carapia is a great alternative, and it's approved under SNWA's Water Smart Rebate Program. It's the first time SNWA partnered with NAIOP for an evaporative cooling workshop. It was very successful. We had it earlier in September, and it was a fantastic turnout of about 80 or so people, and we hope to do it again. And for me personally, it was the first time I got to meet many of you, which I'm grateful for. So, although we have plenty of challenges ahead, it's shown how we as a community continue to come together to overcome these challenges, and how much we must be ready to continue to work together in the future, because although 2024 was a year of firsts, 2024 is not going to be the year of lasts. So, again, we have packets on the tables. Please feel free to talk to myself or any of our team here, the SNWA booth in the back or our table up here. And of course, we always appreciate and thank you for your partnership. Thanks.
Thank you. I would also like to say thank you to Mike. He did a panel for the NAIOP Research Foundation during Converge last week. And Mike, thank you. Educated even me, who I thought, based on all my time on the board and hearing all about water and the land spill the last several years, I thought I was pretty well versed in water, but you shared a lot of really great insights at Converge last week with the Research Foundation, so thank you. And I do think if you do another program next year or education workshop, that you should share some of what you shared there, because it was, I thought, really insightful. And I think if we're all, members of this community, we should all be well versed in kind of the truth versus the myths about our water and Deadpool and the lake and all of the things that I learned. So thank you, Mike. But it would be great, I think, to share that with our membership, because we're all better if we're smarter. So thank you. And now we are going to kick it off to our program. Should I introduce them first and then you want to? I mean, it's so awkward. You want to do me first? Because now I got to introduce, or do you want to do Shani too?
This is real life, real time.
This is it. We're
TV.
doing it.
Cassie, you're like Madonna. You have one name.
This is so awkward.
So you can introduce. So come on, stay right here. So quoting.
Dan really had to introduce me today, just so everyone knows.
Well, you can't introduce yourself on your last day when you're moderator. So to quote Cassie, to introduce Cassie, someone who does a lot of things, she just said, is complete understatement. Sometimes you see those older movies that have the big long rods with the parchment, and then they open up and they flow all the way across the room.
None of the kids in the audience know what you're talking
That's Cassie's
about.
resume. She graduated from UNLV. She graduated with the lead real estate certification in 2010. She has the trifecta: real estate broker's license, property management, and business broker. Little known fact to many, she worked at the International Market Centers early on, 2011 through 2015, when none of us knew basically what that was.
Still, people don't.
She's a chapter president here, obviously. She was crew president. She's on the Council Advisors vice chair. 2018, she won a Rising Star category. They were right. 2008, Emerging Leaders category. They were right again. Top 40, under 40, right again. But most importantly, Cassie is a bona fide leader to NAIOP, to everything she works in. She is a personal friend of mine. In my heaven, there is going to be Cassie's laugh looped all the time.
Be careful what you wish for, Dan.
That just brings us happy and joy. So Cassie's going to introduce the panel. I do want to remind you, please submit a lot of questions. We're going to just have a town hallish type today. So thank you, but most importantly, thank Cassie. She makes this organization better.
Thank you. Very sweet. Thank you, Dan. And thank you. I'm glad I didn't drive you crazy yet. But, we're going to get through it. So as Dan mentioned, I'm really excited today, and I really would like to thank very much Shani Coleman. She's Director of Community and Economic Development from Clark County. As a Clark County native, Shani brings a deep commitment and visionary leadership to her role as the Director of Community and Economic Development. With over 20 years of experience in strategic planning, marketing, and budgeting, Shani has been instrumental in shaping the economic landscape of unincorporated Clark County. She is spearheading the creation of Clark County's first distinct and standalone economic development department. She is a current NAIOP Southern Nevada board member and has served on the Government Affairs and Education committees for the past 7 years. Welcome, Shani Coleman. And Mr. Jared Smith, Director of Economic Development and Tourism. He is a certified economic developer through the International Economic Development Council. He is the only economic development professional to earn this prestigious recognition, currently practicing in the state of Nevada. He is a 16-year veteran of the industry and has a deep and broad knowledge of Southern Nevada economic development. Prior to assuming leadership of the Henderson team, he served as a COO of the LVGEA and chairman of the Economic Development Advisor Group for Southern Nevada. In 2022, he was named one of the top 50 economic developers in North America by Consul Connect. His experience and expertise are critical assets in helping guide Henderson growth. Welcome to the stage, Jared. And fun fact, Jared has a Baton Rouge phone number, so.
I do. We have to make this like TikTok perfect. There we go, just to prove that I was actually here.
And I would like to thank you both. We did have a very last-minute idea for this panel, so I, in a little bit sense of panic, reached out to all of our municipalities in Southern Nevada, Henderson, Clark County, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas. So I really thank you both for being able to pull this together. I know it was hard. But I think this is a testament to the fact of something that NAIOP brings, which is the relationships and networking, because I would have begged, but I'm glad that you accepted quite quickly. But, you know, again, I literally made a last-minute call on a Saturday, and you both, you know, responded quickly. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
But I have to correct you on something. In the introduction, you mentioned that I was the only practicing certified economic developer, and that is not true. Just recently, we had a member of our team pass that same exam, and that's Nick Clayson, who's sitting in the audience right now. So
Woo,
he is
Nick.
number 2 right now.
Thank you for the fact check. Congrats, Nick. My data was old. But congrats. I know we've done a lot with Nick, too, so that's very exciting. So this morning, again, as Dan mentioned, kind of a town hall format. And I don't know how much everybody here in the room knows, but I do feel like personally I have met with both of you several times and just kind of like to stay in touch with all the municipalities to talk about what kind of your area of focus is and how we can partner together. So I think today would be great to kind of share some new and exciting tips and maybe what's on the horizon. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say again, because it's my last breakfast program, if you can give them any good juice today, it would make me look really good. So, you know, feel free to share what you can, although the meeting is recorded, unless Adam wants to stop tape. But, you know, anything you can give the audience today that is here with us. But let's start with, you know, what I always find interesting. If I'm a broker, a developer, a client, you know, a new business, I want to expand my business, at what point should somebody or a company engage with either one of you? So, Shani, let's start with you.
Immediately.
Okay.
Immediately. Yeah. I think the sooner, the better. Clark County, I mean, we all know, I'm not going to sit up here, we're not the fastest. We're not always the fastest. But the sooner you engage with us and we understand what's going on, the better we can prepare you and we can prepare your clients for the things to come. Also, we have depending on the project, we do have a concierge program. We don't advertise it a lot of people don't know about it. But through economic development, we have a program. If there is enough capital expenditure and there is enough job creation where we can fast track certain projects. So think of things like Julie, you know, reached out to us about the Howard Hughes project, this film studio. And so we're able to work that project obviously is going to have a large impact on our community. So the sooner we understand and know about those things, we can try to decipher and make those decisions. So our department is not regulatory, so don't worry about offending us. I don't issue permits. I don't. I don't do land entitlements. But we help those processes move smoother. So the sooner I know about it and it's on my radar, the better.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Jared.
So before I answer that question, I want to take an opportunity to say thank you to all of you. I've met a lot of you. As Cassie said, she's been in our office, and several of you have and are, and you are a part of building our strategy for what we do in Henderson. We a lot of times reach out and ask for your opinions on various subjects as we build out what that looks like. So that's very important to me and our team, to our mayor, to our chamber, to have that relationship with you. And you may not hear that enough from all of us, but truly, thank you. There are a lot of people in here who I talk to very regularly who make us better at our job. As far as when we should engage together, I completely agree with Shani. The earlier, the better. And we are proactively trying to help build strategy and data for you even before you may have a project. Right. So if you were to jump on the Henderson Now website, for example, you will find a target industry study that we did that is, we are building something that's the first of its kind, and which is going to be, not only do we have our target industries that we're aimed at, but we are monitoring that in real time using AI. And no other city in the country has ever done that, and I think that is going to be replicated, and I'm excited for that. We are probably 30, you want some scoop? We are probably 30 days out from releasing a skills gap study that I hope you can use and that our partners in workforce development will use, which says we know there's a surging demand in certain skill sets in these target industries, and here's what the current skills that our people have now. What does that gap look like, and what do we need to do about it? So we are trying to fuel what you're doing with data and strategy. As far as like partnering together specifically as we're trying to recruit a new company here, and I want to be sure that I double, underscore, bold, and italicize, assisting our local companies as well, because we want to see them grow. Recognize that the sooner, like Shani said, the sooner the better. We can't work miracles, but absolutely our team works with our community development and our permitting processes that can help you out. There is city-owned land, so if you have certain companies that match up with what we want to see on our city-owned land, we would love to talk with you about that. Let me give you a good example. We have a great piece of property sitting next to the Center of Excellence. Do all of you know where the Center of Excellence is in West Henderson? Head nods, yes. We have a great piece of land right next to it that we would love to see a manufacturer come in and build a facility and have a partnership with us and see us in. It's right across the street from Haas. Really great piece of property, so we would love to talk with you about that. And the sooner that we can strategize together what that looks like, the better.
Great. Yeah. That was some good. Thank you. I'm going to test my geography here. So if we took the whole kind of southern Nevada or, greater Clark County, city of North Las Vegas would essentially be northeast part of the valley, all the way up kind of through Apex, headed to Utah. City of Las Vegas would be kind of downtown and then headed up kind of west and northwest up that way, yeah. Kyle Canyon. Unincorporated Clark County would be basically Sunrise Mountain, the Strip, all the way west, essentially, to South Summerlin, southwest part of town. Is that fair assessment?
Clark County goes all the way to the Utah border.
Oh, okay, see, I'm learning.
All the way to the Utah border, all the way to California border. So we pick up Mesquite, we pick up Moapa Valley, Overton. On the south side, obviously down to Primm, but southeast we have Laughlin, which is not a city, but unincorporated area, and Searchlight, and then to the north, all the way up through to Pahrump.
Wow.
So
okay.
We are pretty large. We are the 11th largest county in the United States, over 8,000 square miles of unincorporated Clark County.
Wow.
So I have a big job.
Yeah. And you're a team of one, so.
But no, well, actually, I have 4 people now.
Okay, all right. So no, team of 4. Oh, you're growing.
Yes, we are growing. County commissioners recognize they want to do more, and so we're looking at different things. So we have a team right now out in Laughlin, working out with our folks out in Laughlin, doing some stuff down there. We actually own about 9,000 acres down in Laughlin, too. And so it's raw land, so if anybody has an interest in doing something interesting in Laughlin, there's an opportunity there. Yeah, you know, it's got some Colorado River frontage, and so that could be interesting. You know, it's not a lot of time that you can say in the desert that you have waterfront property, but we actually have waterfront property. And so, yeah, so that's a interesting little tidbit if anybody's interested in that.
Good.
It has gas line, but that's about it. But it's 9,000 acres, so it's a great opportunity. Could be great for, as we lean into, as Jared mentioned, manufacturing and diversifying our economy. As we lean into that, we think there's a great opportunity there for some type of industrial use. You don't have residential adjacency problems out there. And so it's a nice little piece of property.
All right, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
And so then City of Henderson would be essentially from, I guess,
anything smaller than Clark County.
Cooperation, is that what that is?
So that would be essentially, I think I'm as far south maybe as Henderson goes. I get on at the Sloan Speed Vegas exit. I'm in Inspirata, so I'm very partial, though, to City of Henderson growth, West Henderson. So I think you're basically anything, I guess I'd call it probably the I-15 boundary east from maybe Sloan, where then unincorporated Clark County will start, all the way east through El Dorado Valley, essentially right up until Boulder City. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's great, yeah.
Okay. So aside from the fact that you're a little bit smaller than Clark County, you know, what,
just a little bit.
You know, I think West Henderson, obviously, we hear a lot about, and like I said, I live in Inspirata, so I'm very familiar with that and very much love the growth and development out there. We're still very much missing a lot of retail, but you know, the announcement, and I've seen now finally some movement at the Haas site that I drive by every day. So what can you share? I did hear something at Converge last week from Elizabeth that potentially Haas may be looking at doing something on that site in addition to their own facility.
Yeah, you know, as I get gray hair, I have to have notes so that I don't misspeak here.
Only Nick will fact check you, so.
Well,
Yeah.
this came from Nick. No, so Haas has already spent $100 million on their land so far. And I'm sure all of you saw, we just had the groundbreaking for the project. They're moving ahead, moving forward. It's very excited. Delays happen, but I will tell you this, they were very communicative with the city during the delays. So we never had, as a city, any doubt that the project was going to happen. So kudos to them for keeping those lines of communication wide open. You know, they've already given, you know, tons of money to the community, so they are already investing in their reputation here as well. So we're super thrilled with them. Across the street from their property, they own another 60 acres, which they're planning to do somewhere between, I want to say, 2 to 4 million square feet, you know, of spec. And originally the idea was to be for their suppliers because, you know, in West Henderson with an announcement like Haas, we don't want to just see Haas go up. We want to bring their suppliers in. We want to see that ecosystem. And I'm probably, you know, preaching to the choir when I say that, you know, there's a lot of pencils down in manufacturing right now. So to see that Haas is moving forward is very good news, not only for Henderson, but it's good for the economic diversification of the region. To know that they're going to move forward with that spec property, I think is incredible. The city made that investment in the Center of Excellence because guess what? They're going to need thousands of employees in manufacturing just in West Henderson. That's not counting what's happening or planned across the rest of the city in El Dorado Valley. We have to do our part as a community to ramp up that workforce. We have to change hearts and minds of our children to help them understand that a career in manufacturing is not what your granddad would have described a career in manufacturing as. It is different now. It's a cool place to go to work. And isn't that weird that I'm sitting here saying manufacturing can be a cool place to go to work? But manufacturers across the country are figuring out we have to create that ecosystem that young people want to be a part of, right? It's not just big fans and hardly any air conditioning and gigantic machines. Like it is actually a good place to go to work. So employers like Haas and the way they take care of their employees and the way they take care of their community, I think that's exactly what we're looking for, but it's definitely not all we're looking for.
So I think cost is a good example. I know, Shani, you have spoken to me about kind of some innovation, is that what we're going to call it, right? Innovation district?
Yeah.
Out in the southwest, right? So I
Yeah.
think along the 215 from, call it, Buffalo to Durango, or is it even bigger than that?
It's actually large. So last year, Clark County Board of Commissioners approved a preliminary innovation district plan. Basically goes from Buffalo all the way down to Decatur. So we pick up UNLV Harry Reid Research Tech Park, and we pick up Uncommons, and we pick up Switch as anchors. And so the idea is creating an environment where innovation can thrive, and Clark County is really putting some muscle and some money behind that. One of the things that we recently have done is we have dropped in a dark fiber line that connects to UNLV supercomputer. So two things are happening. So UNLV Research Park is connected to the supercomputer, but then Clark County also connected to that supercomputer for the sole purpose of, as we recruit new innovation companies, Jared talked about AI, all of those things require high computing power. And so we are the only municipality in the entire state that will have access to a supercomputer and will allow that as an amenity for those companies who are coming and planting a flag in our innovation district. So we're really excited about that opportunity.
And Cassie, I don't want to jump subjects. I'm looking at the watch. I know
We got 14 minutes.
So if it's okay, and not to shift, but I never like to have a conversation with people I trust without being honest, okay? Like this is not going to be easy. I'm sure you're looking at your own pipelines and going, yeesh, leads are down. And I want to be very honest with you about what we see. Like I can tell you all the things that we're pushing forward because we're never just not going to do anything. But let's be honest for a second. Leads for the region, in my view, are down. Like we have slides, and it's not just true for the region; it's true for the state. So that's challenging. We have to get through this election cycle, I think. Our companies are going to have a sense of what does 2025 look like as they make these decisions. Rates are going to have to come down a little bit more. I know Vince Shetler and I have had those conversations at the coffee shop many times as he's looking at his project, his Mosaic project in Henderson.
Not to cut you off, but maybe we should, I don't know if everybody saw that. That might be something just real quickly to just expand on a little bit. So that's going to be south of the M, correct? So I don't know if everyone's aware.
I see Vince sitting right there, and I feel weird describing your project,
Well,
Vince.
yeah, or maybe at the end, then I just think, I did see that announcement. I think we should just at least touch on it. I think that's another really exciting opportunity or project in West Henderson. So at least maybe at the end, then Vince should shed a little bit more light on that.
Yeah, a great mix, believe it or not, of industrial and residential together. and again, you heard me talk about workforce training. Like, we're going to have to meet this moment. And how we're doing it on our team is we're shaking the trees harder than we ever have before. We're producing more data to make company decisions easier. And it's just hard work. And sometimes it's unsexy. I'm happy to talk about, announcements for new developments that are coming. I mean, I'm sure you all watching the Fiesta project that happened. That was something I had the pleasure of working very closely on. But we're in a time where it's just not easy. And when we think about our relationship together between Shani's team, my team, Jared Luke in North Las Vegas, Dina Babsky in the city as well, they have very good staffs. There's never been a more important, better time than for you to know us and for us to know you to get through this lull together. And I just wanted to be kind of bluntly honest about that.
Yeah, no, I think that, and you're touching a lot on manufacturing and training, workforce training, and you obviously now with the announcement of the Innovation District, I would assume then you're kind of targeting more maybe, information technology companies or AI. But I guess to that point of what you said, Jared, and being honest with 300 of your closest friends in the room, I'm going to throw out an assumption here, and I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say similar, right, in brokerage. We might have multiple teams or multiple brokerages pitching kind of for a project, right, to get the leasing or acquisition disposition. But let's say, is it a little bit competitive among all of you, and you could be friendly competitors, much like we are in our industry, but, let's say you have a company, XYZ, like, are they basically like blanket approach, like, here, we're XYZ company and we'll go anywhere, and do they sometimes like pitch all of you against each other to see who will give them better incentives? So like if they end up in county versus Henderson, North Las Vegas, Las Vegas.
Yeah, he called me the other day. He's like, hey, I got a company. I want to compete with you, right? Like he's setting me up, right?
Well, hold on.
He said,
hold on. So wait, we have to tell the whole story there. Through a relationship that I've had with a technology company, they called and said, "Hey, we want to vet Henderson and maybe some of the other areas." So I called my friend Shani and said, "I'm going to send you a lead, and then I'm going to compete with you to win it." Right? I mean, I think that's good partnership, Shani Coleman. Yeah.
Look, the reality is one of you is winning, but we're all winning, right?
We're all
that's exactly the point.
That's exactly right. Look, we all, Jared and I, at the end of the day, work for elected officials who love cutting the ribbon, want to make the announcement, but at the end of the day, as long as it ends up in Clark County, whether it's Henderson.
She's got that supercomputer, Jared.
You see how she leans over at me to say that?
You better get a supercomputer over
there. Whether it's the city of Henderson, the city of Las Vegas, unincorporated, it's a win for our community.
It's so true.
Because most people don't know whether they're. They don't know
it's all Las Vegas.
They think it's all Las Vegas, right? And so. It's all a win for our community. So, we banter and we play with each other, but, it's all a win. Somebody calls me and I can't deliver what they're looking for, my next call is to a Jared or to a North Las Vegas. And I want to keep that company in our community regardless, because that's job. Our residents don't know that or don't care if the job's in North Las Vegas or it's in Henderson. We're not we're not LA. We don't have to get on the freeway and sit for 2 hours. So if I got to jump on the freeway and drive 20 minutes from Henderson to a site in unincorporated Clark County, it's still a job where I'm able to take care of my family and make an honest living. So that's how I view our relationships.
I would 100% agree with that. And I know, so Nick in his role on our team, he is everything data, and I'm sure he's sitting back in his seat right now going.
He's like fact checking.
Oh,
you
well,
100%.
no, what he's wanting me to say is that, you know, a great job in unincorporated Clark County is going to help our residents, which is what I think you're saying. You know, I often say I've got a board of directors of 330,000 people. But really, I think all of us as a team in economic development, which regions that do it right have good relationships like Shani's describing. So we have a 2+ million board of directors.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So what else, I guess, before we turn it over to questions, do you feel like is important to share? You know, again, you mentioned the Innovation District, but any other new incentives? And I guess I would also like to ask, you know, I've also spoken to GoEd. So I guess do you partner with GoEd, or is the line there? And I think, you know, most of us in the room would agree, we continue to hear, we want to bring jobs, but they need to be high-paying jobs. And so I think what I've experienced with some of the companies we've worked with is, in order to receive the state or GoEd incentives, they have to have a certain number of jobs over 100,000. And Nick, fact check me.
31, what,
okay.
Nick? 31-ish dollars an hour is the
Yes.
state's average wage.
Yeah.
Clark County is just under 30.
Yes.
Okay. So how does that work? Like, are you basically working with GoEd or on top of it, or are you kind of, is your threshold, because it's $1 an hour lower, easier maybe than, you know, what incentives they can get? But is the goal overall, and I think that's what we've all heard with the film studio coming, is that should bring a lot more of the plus $100,000 a year jobs versus, you know, manufacturing or some of the other companies we work with that we've been told sometimes don't qualify because of the wage. So how do you guys combat that?
We work very closely with GoEd, excuse me, all the time. And so it's, again, a symbiotic relationship. Clark County, as the most populated county in the state, everything is partnered, everything just about runs through Clark County. And so having that positive relationship with the Governor's Office of Economic Development is important. And so we work very closely with them. From a incentive perspective at Clark County, what I can speak to is that is the most prosperous incentive that you can get. So going through GoEd, that's where you get those partial tax abatements. And so even though they're Clark County taxes that are abated, they go through GoEd to get those. And so meeting that $31 an hour threshold is going to be important, but it's not the end-all be-all, right? And so look, we want everybody to make $100,000, right? That's that would be wonderful, but that's not realistic, right? And so what we look for is what we call good jobs, right? And good jobs are not just about pay, but good jobs are also about equity. Good jobs are about creating career paths for people where they have opportunities to feel good. Good jobs are about work-life balance. And so while pay is definitely a part of that, we can look to things like good jobs that are more of a holistic approach instead of just turning to pay.
Yeah. I'm very passionate about your question about what is a good job. Before I stand up and get on that pedestal for a second, though, as far as incentives go, what Shani said is exactly right. There's a process for companies to go through with the Governor's Office of Economic Development. As when I was at LVGA, you know, our team, we sponsor all those applications, and the cities, the municipalities, we sign letters that say, hey, we think that this company is worthy, and you know they're great for us, and our team can answer a lot of those questions on how to apply and what it takes to get. But back to like the what is a good job question. I wish it was as simple, friends, as a certain dollar per hour. Now, obviously, the RJ just ran an article where they talked about a household needs to make a certain amount of money to
Yeah.
be comfortable.
Was it 111,000?
Yeah, I think 111 or 120, and that's a household, so that could be two incomes or one income. What I want you to remember is exactly what Shani just said about career pathways. If a company comes to us, I mean, as a municipality, we will never turn assisting a company away. All right, if they pay $15 an hour, I know that that's not a sexy dollar amount, but we will help anybody to the best of our ability, because you might not need a $15 or $16 or $18 an hour job, but somebody might, right? A lot of these lower paying, lower dollar per hour paying jobs are not meant to be and have never meant to be the job you retire in. It is a pathway. Not very many people retire from McDonald's, am I right? But a lot of kids get their start learning what it's like to be employed at somewhere like that. So I never demonize $18 or $20 an hour job, because somebody can use that as a starting point, or if they're making minimum wage and they get a $21, $22 an hour job, that's not the state's average wage, but that could be a 40% increase in their pay. Does that sound like a bad move? Not for me, it doesn't. If you take some industry like manufacturing, Bob Potts, who was with GoEd for a long time, made this point, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Manufacturing is in its infancy here in Southern Nevada compared to other places in the country. They're never going to come in and test the market with top pay. It's just, that's not how companies make those decisions. So I think we just have to give it time. I think those wages will increase. And the definition of what is a good job, we could have had this whole discussion today about just that question.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds like an education workshop for next year, Shani.
Yeah.
We're always trying to come up with education workshops and breakfast programs, so I think we're on to something.
Yeah.
I'm really setting you up, Matt.
Yeah.
I hope you're taking notes. But all right, I think we're right at 9. Do you see how Dan put the clock right in front of me like that?
Right.
Do you like that? And I think, like I said, I really wanted the audience to have a chance to ask questions since we have both of you here. I tried to pitch you quite a few softballs, so I hope I did good. But, before we turn it over to Dan, I just want to say, speaking of your constituents and your board of directors, I was in a meeting with Jared a few months back, sometime over the summer, and he said, "I'm so sorry, the mayor's calling. When the mayor calls, you have to take it." And I just want you to know that inspired me, and I hope that when I call Tutland, that's what he says about me. Like, Cassie's calling, I have to take this. So, thank you, Jared, for inspiring me. That is the new bar for me, Dan. So, just want you to know when the mayor calls, Jared answers. So,
since you're the only person in my life that just calls me Tutland, no, I always answer your call. So
right,
we do have questions all over.
Softballs only. I promised them, since they saved us, only softballs.
No, you can ask Shani the difficult questions.
This is a friendly crowd. Is there a difference between affordable and workforce housing, or are they interchangeable?
So they are not interchangeable. There is a difference. Workforce housing is usually 80% to 120% AMI, which is average median income, and low income is generally anything below 80% of AMI. So a household income, average median income, and so that's how those things are looked at.
That's a wonderful answer. Jared's nodding. So when somebody like Haas, use the big example, comes in, what are their questions about workforce housing?
I think if I'm being completely honest with you, it's more about workforce availability than housing. Can we upskill the people in the community that might want these jobs? Because I don't think they're going to bring 500 people from California here new. I think we're going to be upskilling Nevadans. So it wasn't about $1 per, for housing. It was more about how fast can we upskill the people that we need.
Then you mentioned California, you mentioned Los Angeles earlier, and these are all questions. I'm just putting them together. What percentage of the calls do you get are from California businesses?
Oh my gosh.
Sounds like a
many.
lot.
They're our biggest cheerleader. I would say our team probably gets at least 2 calls from a California business every day who is looking to move out of California for a number of reasons, either because their employees can no longer afford to live there. We just helped a company by the name of Antera about 2 months ago. They moved here. They manufacture industrial grade IT infrastructure. And so they moved out of California because their employees could no longer afford to live there. They had employees who were driving from hours in what they thought were affordable communities, and they just couldn't afford to live. And so they were looking for a location that was close enough to the port of Long Beach, but that was relatively inexpensive enough and made sense for them. And for them, that's Southern Nevada. And a lot of companies are doing that. Our regulatory climate, our distance from the port of LA, our distance to places like Phoenix and Utah, places where you can easily get to in a day, our airport, our community, make us all attractive to companies from Southern California who are just done.
I think that is well said. Has anybody in the room been to our Economic Development and Small Business Awards in Henderson? Great, thank you. I want to see the rest of your hands next time.
Yeah.
In our last awards, we gave an honorary award to Gavin Newsom for business development, helping us with business development.
Okay.
Yeah, true story, yeah. So I will tell you that I agree with Shani. We get lots of calls from California companies. And one more little interesting story. When I was going through that certification process, I had to sit across from a panel of other economic developers, and this was 7 years ago, and one of them asked me, why do you think Southern Nevada, what are some of the reasons Southern Nevada is doing so well? And I looked right at the guy and I said, well, California is awful, and we are their neighbor, and if you want to do business with Californians, but you don't want to do business with California, then you want to come to Southern Nevada. And the guy looked at me and says, yeah, I live in California. This was a guy having to decide if I was going to get certified or not. And he said, yeah, and you're right, Jared. So I think as long as California keeps doing what they're doing, I think that helps us get through this lull a little bit easier.
And that is very interesting. I mean, our biggest issue is we don't have enough land here. This room would agree. But KB Home says they can't, cheap land prices, they still can't build affordable or workforce housing. But then you talk to California and we're on sale. So I'm not sure how that all ends up wrapping together. Is there anything in the legislature coming up next year that your respective Clark County or Henderson is looking for or pitching for?
Well, we're looking forward to the film tax credit bill. I mean, it's no secret there are 2 companies vying to build film studios here in unincorporated Clark County. Warner Brothers is looking to build in our innovation district out at Harry Reid Tech Park. We've already approved land entitlements with Howard Hughes for Sony to move forward. But in order for those things to happen, that bill's got to come through. And so that's something we're going to be monitoring very closely to see see how that lands and what that looks like for Sony and for Warner Brothers.
I am very hesitant to talk about what's going to happen in the next session because, number one, I do not speak for or run our government relations team in the city of Henderson. So I'm going to answer your question just this way. You heard Shani talking about these film tax credits. I mean, that number sounds like with a B, big, right? I will answer your question by saying I just hope that for the rest of the industries, as we're trying to diversify this economy, that we make good decisions in Carson City about how we assist our existing companies and all these other diverse industries that we're trying to grow, that we don't limit them by going all in one direction. I want to be sure that we are protecting the available incentives to the largest amount of companies that we can to help them keep growing.
Shani, a developer in the audience asked if the supercomputer was going to help the permitting process speed.
I know.
One would argue they go hand in hand, but
that was not aimed at me.
all right, there you have it.
No comments.
And another wise guy asked if Clark County was going to rebrand to Las Vegas County.
Oh, gosh. Probably not. You know, every now and then we get some fun ideas from our elected officials. You know, I doubt there's an appetite for our county commission. However, I've seen stranger things happen, so you never know.
There, in today's paper, down from Boulder Station, there was an infill piece of 20 acres that KB bought from Siegel Suites. Not specific to that transaction, but what does infill look like in your respective communities?
Well, one of the things that I did when I started is we started looking at redevelopment again. I don't know if you guys know, but at one point in time, back in 2002, Clark County had a redevelopment agency. It ran for a couple of years until it ran for probably about 6 or so years, and then they shut it down. And then when I was brought on, we looked at redevelopment again because, as we know, there's a shortage of land. And so what we're doing is we're looking at redevelopment. We're looking at those more mature neighborhoods, and we're looking at infill because there's real opportunity there. And so things that we're seeing in unincorporated Clark County are infill developments. This is a KB Homes or this is a Pulte Homes taking down 20 acres or taking down 10 acres and building, you know, a small plot of houses on smaller lots, right? So infill. And for redevelopment, we're looking at, okay, how do we create density? So some projects that we're looking at and we're working on are a redevelopment project in commercial centers. So we're looking at, you know, around that Sahara Maryland Parkway corridor. So from Maryland Parkway down to Las Vegas Boulevard, what opportunities lie there? We have some redevelopment planning happening in Chinatown. What opportunities lie there? We've already seen some redevelopment happen in Chinatown where you see Lotus, which is that infill is going up instead of going out. And until we, I hate to say it, it's because I know it's a dirty word, until the land spill situation is resolved, I think that's something that we're going to have to lean into. And so redevelopment, density, and infill, 20 acres, 10 acres here, I think are where we're at. There are no longer, outside of Howard Hughes that owns a big plot of land that they've owned for years, they're not these plot of 100, 200, 300 acre sites to build houses on. And so Apex, I don't want to speak for North Las Vegas, you know, they finally have water, and so industrial's doing good out there. And so for Clark County, from a diversification standpoint, not housing, not just housing. Matter of fact, there's a joint study between Clark County and the city of Henderson looking to the southern portion of the valley. So basically West Henderson, Sloan, down through state line, about what development in that area looks like. And so really being mindful about housing that goes in there, so we don't have problems with the residential adjacency that we have like in the urban core. Where does housing go? Where does job creation site go? And what job creation, what we're talking about are those things like industrialized development, manufacturing, warehousing. Where do we put those things? Where do those puzzle pieces fit? So we maximize our ability to, one, grow our economy with different types of jobs, but then provide the appropriate housing and places for people to live who take on those new jobs. So
kudos to NAIOP and John Restrepo for pointing out that we have a land shortage and there's going to be a deadline and we're going to be out of land, and all that led to this lands bill. I think that's incredibly important. In the city of Henderson, we're willing to take some risks. I mean, again, I mentioned it earlier, but we bought that Fiesta site, and I remember when I was pitching this to the council, one of the councilmen looked at me on camera and said, "We're not really doing things in the usual order. This feels a little bit like ready, aim, fire," because the city jumped out and we spent $32 million on a site and we had no developer. We had basically an idea of what we wanted to see there, but we knew that it was an opportunity for us to use our redevelopment dollars, which, that was sitting in a fund to be used for exactly something like this. And it's going to result in, and I'm sure you may have already seen this, friends, but we're going to probably have somewhere around 150,000 square feet of indoor sports facility, which will be used not only for our kids and our programs during the week, but it's probably going to be something like 10 basketball courts big. That can be a tourism play. And we went out and talked to a lot of the residents. We had over 5,000 people respond to tell us what they wanted to see on that Fiesta site. And when we started presenting that community vision that they had given us back, the community went all in and said, perfect, this is exactly what we want. So in our redevelopment areas, it's been exciting to see Henderson put their risk and their dollars where their people are. And you've probably seen there's a reimagined Boulder Highway going on right now. That is going to open up some smaller parcels as that roadway changes a little bit, and I think some of the existing people that own that land may grab some of those smaller parcels to, make their areas bigger. But I think there's going to be some for sale, and I also think that our city-owned property has become more important. We're getting more inquiries about that, especially in our redevelopment areas where there are redevelopment incentives available. And if somebody wants to learn more about that, I'd be happy to connect you with Anthony Malloy, who leads our redevelopment department.
And I think the Fiesta site should help kind of Water Street and all that district, which is within the redevelopment, correct?
Yeah, so that's our downtown redevelopment area, and yes, it's going to be awesome, not only for as an entrance to downtown, which was really the catalyst for why we wanted to control the vision and have our citizens have that direct say. But for the entire city and for the region, that sports facility that we're talking about building, this will be the second one. The first one has already been announced in West Henderson. I'm sure you saw that, by Chicken and Pickle. Chicken and Pickle's getting ready to open pretty soon, by the way, so watch the news for that. But this will be the second facility, and it will look a little different than the one in West Henderson. The one in West Henderson may have some indoor fields. This, I would just think like big gigantic basketball floor for basketball tournaments and volleyball tournaments and pickleball tournaments that will fill up our hotels in downtown Henderson and absolutely help Water Street. But can you believe that there's nowhere in southern Nevada that is a sports facility like this? If you need that many courts, then you have to go to one of the properties and they have to install the facility, kind of like Mandalay Bay does whenever the basketball tournament comes to town. This will be a permanent facility ready to go.
Awesome.
Bob Potter gave us a great compliment in NAIOP today. He came in and he said, "What's the program?" And I said, "Bob, you come here and you don't even know the program." And he says, "I trust NAIOP's going to deliver a good program month after month." So on behalf of NAIOP and the Board of Directors, we want to thank the speakers who come here, but mostly we want to thank the members and the guests that come month after month that make this the most fun thing to do in the real estate industry every month. And we'll see you with Matt Hoyt next year for our first program in January.
And thank you to Southern Nevada Water Authority, again, our breakfast sponsor, and a huge thank you to Jonna, Katrina, and everyone at Alternative Management for probably many sleepless nights as they pushed Dan and I into every program this year. So continued sleepless nights, I'm sure, for Matt next year. But thank you, everybody, for our last breakfast program of 2024.